Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Good afternoon, welcome to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week I had the pleasure of being joined by Katie Harvey. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Katie is the co-founder of QComms. Q Communications is an international communications agency based in Dubai, and they are actually celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year. So they're based in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and London, and Manchester, specializing in fully integrated PR, social media, influencer marketing. And now, as I said, 10 years in business with clients such as Aldar Properties, Reebok, Hyatt, to name a few. QComms is something Katie set up with her business partner, Elsa.
Yeah, Elsa.
Elsa.
Like Frozen.
Like Frozen. Oh, right, yeah. I haven't watched those movies, actually. And she joins us today to tell the story. We're going to discuss female leadership in business, expanding the business during a global pandemic, and also just the general story of QComms. Welcome again.
Great. Thank you for having me.
And
here.
yeah, we've known each other for about five years or so.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, and then I feel like I've been with you on the love and journey, the Augustus journey, and just going on and on.
Yeah, because I remember I was working with a techie startup, and I was working with a founder, and thinking that we needed some PR help. So I spoke to you about it.
Yeah.
And that's the first I'd known of you, but obviously you were here a long time before.
Yeah, so we started QComms or Q Communications in 2010, but I myself have been here since 2007. And Elsa, my business partner, has been here a bit longer. I won't give away too much. She won't forgive me for that. And yeah, so we started the agency then. It was two of us, and we actually started as DubaiPartyQueen.com.
Okay.
And it's actually a handle I've kept on Instagram.
That's your Instagram account.
It's more of a just like nostalgic. I really don't live up to the name anymore.
Did you at the time?
But I was, 10 years younger.
Okay, and this was pre-2008, so was Dubai a party place at the time?
Oh my gosh, very much so. But when I joined Dubai, I came and worked with the Movenpick Hotel group. They only had one hotel at the time down in Bur Dubai, and that's where Jimmy Dix was. It was opposite Chi. So people like Tim Derry, Greg Dufton, everyone, we were all part of a little community. They were working, doing their thing then too, who've then gone on to create such amazing things.
Yeah.
And I think earning 5,000 dirhams a month for 2-3 years. And
we always remember our early salaries, don't we?
Oh
like
my gosh,
when we start out, no matter
completely.
what country or currency it's in.
You remember it so well, and I
Yeah.
always look back and think, gosh, I did really well on that,
Yeah. Were things cheaper? Do you remember, or you were just younger, less?
I think I was quite the hustler, so you used your network. I was working in-house in hotels doing comms, so we had a brilliant hotel PR network then, so we used to kind of just reach out and lean on each other.
Yeah.
And that's actually how myself and Elsa met. We became fast friends very quickly, and then it was more a thing of, it was real boom times then. And then I was going through obviously the global recession happened, and we were looking for ways to subsidize our income because we just kind of felt that there were people in real estate, cowboys, I will say it, and a lot of people who were earning big bucks, and we didn't think had half the contacts we had or half the determination. So we started Dubai Party Queen very much as an events company, but more along the line of baby showers, hen parties, and there was a real need for it in the market here then. I mean, but once we decided to go for it, we were baking cupcakes. I'm sure we broke every rule in the book then with HACCP and food hygiene, but we just went for it. Like taking over a spa on the weekend and then selling it on as a package to people and hosting it.
Were there free zones then? It's obviously not that long ago, but were you able to set up a business? Was it hard? Did you just kind of go as you...
It was hard, but we set up a Virtusim actually way back when under Dubai Party Queen. So when we launched, that's how we did it. I quit my job first, and then Elsa stayed in hers for about 6 months longer, just because we had a little bit of security, and she was earning more than me, which obviously wasn't that hard at the time. And the second people realized that we were free agents as such, people started to approach us to do PR, which is our background, which is my background and Elsa's background. She's more marketing, I'm PR.
Why didn't you do a PR agency from the start?
Because we first just done it and thought about what our passion is.
Yeah.
And thought it's something that was a bit of fun. And then thought, actually, if we want to do this correctly, and we learned that very quickly, we're going to have to jump in with 2 feet.
Yeah.
Which is why we went down the event side. Also, I think there might have been false senses of grandeur around an events company, which is not the case whatsoever.
You thought this was going to be fun all the time.
I think so. You know, I was like, I love going to events, so why don't I just do it all the time? And then people started to approach us, and having a PR agency is actually something that's been a dream of mine since a very young age. My mother actually found my cover letter for university a few weeks back, and in it I said how I want to open a PR agency.
No
I've
way.
even forgotten about it.
What did you study in university? Was it
PR?
Okay,
Public relations. It's part of my pitch to get in, I think.
But just a question on that, like, do you think sometimes in starting a business, I remember when I was thinking of social media agencies, even though you're doing it and you're good at it and you studied it, you think that actually running an agency might be harder. You need something extra special. So you set up something else you don't know anything about.
I think so. I think it's always, everyone thinks that they can maybe do an agency, but it's a lot tougher, no matter what type of industry it is. I just don't think we were focused. I don't think the idea then was we were going to start a business that was going to have a 10-year legacy and go on and go international. It really was just a bit of fun. And I know I probably shouldn't be saying that, but that's the reality of how it was born. Then when people were starting to approach us saying, would you like to, or can you look at this project? It was very much in hospitality because that's where our strengths lay at the time. We'd say yes, of course, because as you know, when you start up a business, you take what you can get. You grab everything with 2 hands. The reality sets in very quickly, especially when there's no safety net there. We didn't have investors. It was just the 2 of us working out of a sitting room, driving a car that didn't have AC, so we'd show up to meetings early. I know it sounds like quite the Cinderella story, but I think it's really good to remember those things, and it keeps you very humble and grounded. So when you're speaking to people, or if you have requests, to remember that nothing's ever above you, you know, or you're never above anything, should I say, and that you can relate to people and be like, right now you need to get your hands dirty. And then it kind of snowballed, and like PR is our passion. So that's, I think, what really came through. So as much as we might have liked the idea of doing events, what we were really good at was communicating. Yeah. So that's what started to come more and more to the forefront. That's what we were getting more referrals on, and it just started to make a lot more sense.
When did the baby showers stop? When did it go from Dubai Party Queen to
I'd say
Q-Coms?
About 8 months in, 9 months in, because we were kind of doing the 2 in tandem, and then it just naturally phased out. But I think we're still the go-to along our social circles, anything. But we took part of that element into the business, and I think about on year 4 or 5, we did another big investment into events and brought in a third party, and it didn't work. I think that's the real thing here too. You can have a plan, write plans, but you have to be so ready to let go of those plans as well and make quick decisions and like pivot as things are thrown at you. I think the last 6 months is a great example of that. But
so we'll get back to that, and then also touch on the pivot into events. But so how did it start to snowball? Like, you know, where you, because what we see now and Q-Coms and how established you are, as I said at the start, but the clients that you work for, how professional, the size of the company, it looks like an agency that was, you know, set up to be legit and to be big time from the start. Yeah. Is this piece by piece?
It's a combination of piece by piece, and it's a combination of confidence and big picture thinking. I think the second we realized, oh wait, this isn't a weekend kind of add-on subsidized income, this is an agency, it shifted something in our mind. Yeah. And then from day one, we've always been, it very much focused us, and we always said, okay, how big can we take this? A lot of people ask us, okay, so what's your exit plan? Are you planning to sell? Are you building it up to sell? Is that why you're now going international? And I've always said no. Like we're the plan. We want to get bigger and bigger and try and make it work as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
The idea of having to answer to someone else doesn't necessarily appeal to us because we've done it our way since day one.
The passion, the PR agency is similar to how other marketing services companies would be, in that they might start off as independent, and then an exit or a sell could be to one of the big holding groups. Is that something that you look at, or do you prefer being, as you said, independent?
I think we prefer being independent. So we opened up an office in Abu Dhabi in 2016. So we were 6 years into operation at that stage. And that was a brilliant move for us. It really changed things up, especially on getting some of those larger brands and international contracts. And for those that work in Abu Dhabi, no, it's a completely different market. And, people and businesses in Abu Dhabi want to work with businesses in Abu Dhabi, not someone who resides and lives and breathes Dubai and then does the 45-minute drive once a week and thinks that's it. So I think what we really look at is really investing when we make those next steps into the community and making sure we're part of it so we can actually bring value to the clients. Hospitality makes up, I'd say, about 50 to 60% of our portfolio now. So if you're talking to a new restaurant or a new hotel about their strategy, or a lot of the time we go way beyond just talking about PR. We find ourselves to be F&B consultants, concept consultants, and we love it, so we don't mind doing it. Social media, we do influencers, and we have a design team, we have content teams, we create content, but we just don't position ourselves as like a creative agency to go up against someone who's maybe doing CAD drawings and everything. But we
lead with comms, and you understand.
We lead with comms, but we understand all the parts of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so if you're having a conversation with someone, you need to be able to really know what you're talking about. So the whole team that are in Abu Dhabi live in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So if someone's saying, right, we've got this brilliant new idea and we're going to open it, we can go, okay, great. There's another concept like it, or we've seen this approach like crash and burn or do really well, or best ways to approach it with like your target audiences and getting into the communities.
Yeah.
So that works really well.
Is that one of the things that you think people get wrong? They think that they can serve different markets from Dubai and that you need to kind of localize it a bit? I
think it depends what you're doing. When we moved to Abu Dhabi, it wasn't an overnight decision either. We spent 18 months up and kind of creating a base. So I always say, before you make your next move, create a track record. So I think with the way that you can do anything remotely, you can look after other markets as long as you understand it and you have a track record in that market.
Yeah.
And that's what we did opening up. We actually went to launch. We weren't there like hands empty and then realizing it didn't work. We looked at Bahrain. We wanted to go in there. I know we've had conversations. It just wasn't right for us. Actually, once we went on the ground, met people, ran the numbers, got to understand it. An amazing place, somewhere I would always recommend to go. Absolutely fabulous hospitality, love it. Doesn't make sense for us to have an office there at the moment. No, so it is looking, but I do think you just have to understand. And if you can have people on the ground that are local as in living there and being part of the community, I think it really helps no matter what you're doing.
Do you focus on what makes sense for you, of where you think your skills would suit the market, or in terms of the opportunity of the market, in terms of maybe how many other competitors are already there, the stage of the market?
I always want to bring value. So whatever we do, it has to be opportunity, but opportunity where we can really create value for the client.
So you think basically if you're good and you have a good relationship, it doesn't matter what other people are doing.
Yeah, it's not having blinkers on, but I've never really paid too much attention to what the agencies to the left and the right of us are doing.
Yeah.
There are some brilliant agencies. In 2010, also 7 Media launched, The Code launched,
really?
ourselves, all in the same year. So we've all celebrated our 10-year anniversaries this year. And we're the ones that have stayed and now go up against the internationals.
Yeah.
But that said, it is good to have a good community and a good relationship with competitors, but I don't worry too much. not to the point of being arrogant, because you need to have your eyes open to some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we're confident in what we're doing and we think it's right, we're very much like, let's go. If you go full speed and go for it, it's the best way.
Interesting. So, just you mentioned kind of pivoting into the event space and it not working. Can you talk a bit about like what didn't work, but also as communications and social media and all these things have cropped up over the last 10 years, how much do you need to pivot? How many times do you need to add new services, or how do you kind of stick to your current offering?
Yeah. I think we've gone very kind of like up and down, but on like an upward trajectory over the 10 years, because when we launched, I think we offered everything: media planning, content creation, of course, graphic design, brand creation, everything. And our license, I think, still does allow us to do it all. But over time, we learned it's better off being known and very good at one or two services rather than being a jack of all trades, especially at the size that we're at. We're not a global yet agency with all the different sections and floors for each department and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think we learned the hard way every time, to be very honest with you, of trying something, seeing it doesn't work. And that's okay. But you just need to know when to pull the plug. Yeah. I think that there's nothing worse than sitting on something for too long. Or if I'm ever coaching or mentoring people, I say there's no such thing as a bad decision. It's making no decision.
Yeah.
You know? So we did that, and then we decided, right, we really want to ramp up the events. So when you asked earlier, how did we go from events into PR and how long did it stay? Okay, the baby showers might have gone away after 8 months, but events and activations is still such an integral part of what we do at QCom.
Absolutely.
I think we were one of the first agencies out here to do the really creative press drops that used to come out to media. That wasn't just a press release.
Yeah, you stood out on Lovin Dubai in the early days. There was always your gifts to the office were always the most flamboyant.
Yeah, flamboyant, crazy. I mean, gosh, we got it wrong sometimes as well. I remember we sent out an invite once, which now is like common, but I mean, we're going back 10 years. Huge box, and you opened and a big balloon comes out, and on the invitation was on the balloon was the invitation, and we actually didn't put the location on there.
Okay.
So then we got loads of phone calls. Positioned it as like, oh no, that's a teaser. That was the teaser, exactly. So events are really part of what we do. We work with brilliant brands. So Peroni, a brand that we work with, and it's a dark market. It's alcohol. So how do you bring that to life? Not using traditional. A lot of it is through events.
Yeah,
experiences, and I always say, like an event, we do the same with comms. That first part, or that first time that you communicate, that first touch point sets the scene. So if I'm inviting you to an event, how it looks, how it feels, the language, is it something physical, or now is it something that's like a video or digital that I can engage with, share? It's just really important. So we have all those elements within our comms now. And I think that's why a lot of clients really look to us and enjoy working with us, because we don't go, right, here's a press release, let's get it out, which is it's the bread and butter of what we do. But it's like, how can we actually engage with the audience? What's going to get people talking and get them excited about it?
Just about that, so basically, if someone has a PR agency on their roster, they've kind of done an RFP, they have a pitch, your services would be known in terms of what you would do for them and the value that you bring. In the last 10 years, we've seen social media really become something where a lot of budget, a lot of time, and that ecosystem on top of the platforms has become something. Why do you think that PR agencies didn't land grab or own that? And why was there a need for a social media agency as well as a PR agency?
I think...
And the same question really about influencers as well.
Yeah, I think that's a podcast all on itself.
True.
I think there was a little bit of fear and a little bit of unknown. So when we opened the office in Abu Dhabi in 2016, Kate Greble, who now heads up our QUK, came out and opened that office for us.
QUK, I like it.
QUK, yeah. I'll tell you all about that, don't worry. And she had come from a Manchester agency working with global brands, and it was digital. And when she hit the ground here, she said, guys, you need to be looking more digital. And we were like, yeah, no, of course. And then we would try sell it into clients, and they would be like, but that's not worth spending money on, was a lot of the feedback we got at the time. And it was because I always liken social media and food. Because everyone has social media, everyone's an expert, and everyone feels like they are the authority and know how to do it. Just like food, because everyone eats and everyone cooks, they all think that they're
the
foodies
experts.
and whatnot. And I think it's only really in the last year or two that it's being given its correct place in the whole marketing mix and sphere and the respect that it deserves, because it's completely surpassed. And I agree with you, there was an opportunity to grab that, to have it. We brought in digital probably about 3 years ago, more seriously, and invested. We have photo studios now, teams, dedicated teams. A lot of the time they speak a language that I don't always understand, but that's okay. You know, I know that's not necessarily my key area of expertise, but that's why you build teams of brilliant people. But it's still communications at the end of the day.
But do you think that social media is just like a magazine? It's another medium. So in terms of PR and comms, you actually already, in terms of the importance of a client engaging with a PR agency, you can cover that without, say, owning it. Like, you know, it's a new medium can have new types of agent. You can have new layers, right? So you can have, you know, as media continues, you can have extra layers of agencies. But what I'm trying to get at is that, you know, the sort of traditional skill set, what you studied in university, is still relevant now.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I also think the degree isn't necessarily worth it. I think if you want to go into comms, just go in and work. I think learning theory for years is a big waste of time. Yeah. Not huge, not complete, but you know, that's again different conversation. I just think PR and things like this, social, digital, it's so live and it changes so much that it's only once you're in there and you're doing it, you'll really understand.
What was your biggest win? What's your biggest, the moment where you got so excited?
We've had quite a few over the years. I think winning Burj Al Arab as a local agency, and this is going back again about 4 years ago, and that was when they were kind of moving away from what they had been since they launched, and quite a little bit stiff, shall we say, you know, stuffy, and wanting to be a bit more accessible. And that's when we launched the Terrace. I went on the back. Nathan Outlaw, brilliant chef, Dan Mahara, gold on 27.
So you really were part of that changing that perception around
Burj Al Arab. We're part of that
change
in perception. How do we bring it? How do we launch this to a crowd that, like to the Dubai crowd? I think internationally it always stands there and it's iconic. But when the hotel opened, and anyway, even when I moved here in 2007, the way things were structured here were different. Everything revolved around a hotel. But then after that, DIFC opened, independent restaurants opened, and the social scene changed hugely. That it wasn't that where you go and where you socialized was within a hotel anymore. So then those hotel-owned concepts really had to either rethink how they approach it or start to approach independents to manage it on their behalf. And that's why now we have such a plethora of amazing clients and restaurant options here in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and in the region. So we were very much part of that process of them saying, right, if we want to appeal and compete with the local market here and be more than just occasion driven, we need to start talking in a different way. But going back to your layers thing, so that's a great example. When we did do something like Burj Al Arab, we were there, we were engaged for PR. But what we do regularly or with all our clients is, even if social or digital isn't part of our remit, and it is, we've exclusively digital clients as well and social clients, we will say how this would look on their assets or how they can roll that out. So we either hand that over to the digital agency, we like to work in hand or in-house, but it's just showing that we look at all the elements of this campaign. So if we're communicating we're thinking beyond, okay, well, what does that with media? Or I mean, PR at the end of the day is reputation building and management. So your own assets and social are key for that, because that's what people look to first.
Yeah, and you've got very kind of professionally done.
Do you know what? It's always a thing of, we can't go out and preach and tell people how to do things if we don't look after ourselves too. But as with every business, you look after your own bits last. But we're doing much better at that.
Speaking of that messaging, this year started. You posted a video of the whole team on holiday to
Zanzibar. I think that was probably the best day in the office.
Getting together, everyone was excited, and then of course things didn't.
Then the C word.
The C word.
Then the C word happened. It has been one hell of a roller coaster year for everyone, you know. But we really went into this year thinking this is our year.
Yeah.
We launched Q UK last month in July.
And you had been planning that probably?
But we've been planning that since the end of 2019. So that was actually planned for March. We announced that for our 10-year anniversary, we're going to take the whole team to Zanzibar for the weekend, because we always say it, and we really live and breathe it. Our best asset is our team, you know? And so we wanted to do something that we could all enjoy together to really celebrate the hard work over the years. We had just come off the back of investing about a year's worth of time, money into the team, changing everything. So we're working on HR apps that we have from America that we localized to be in line with labor laws here. And we just introduced ICAS, which is an employee support system with access to psychologists, financial planners, everything for them and their families. We launched Q Cares, which is our charity initiative, and we did our first quarter for the Philippines. We actually had a trip to the orphanage planned. Like, there was just so much mentoring programs. It was brilliant, and you could really feel it. Like, it paid off. Really listening to the team, we do employee surveys. Like, what is it that you want? What's going to really keep you motivated? Because there's so many different factors that motivate a team. So it was hard. You have to ask some hard questions to get to that point. You know, it's easier not to and put your head in the sand. But so 18 months ago, we went through a very difficult period of hearing some home truths of what we thought was maybe working really well, but it wasn't. There was a disconnect or miscommunication to the team. Got everything on board, really on track, and then COVID hit. And it was a whirlwind. I think we lost easily about 80% of our business in a 2 to 3 week period.
Wow.
And we have a diversified portfolio.
That obviously has never happened before.
It's never happened.
You weren't relying on one client either.
No, I mean, very early on, I think about year 2, year 3, we'd made that mistake that we had our set of clients and thought we were doing great, and then suddenly realized
it just come up to
like
churn.
wait a minute, you know, contracts coming to an end or whatnot. And we learned very early on, you never stop pitching, you never stop growing. You always are looking for where you might need that next piece of need. It was maybe the wrong word, but have that next piece of business lined up so you don't leave yourself exposed.
Are PR contracts the same as sort of media contracts? Are they 1 year or 4 years, or how often or does it depend?
It really depends. But traditionally you're looking at 12-month or 24-month.
And there might
contracts.
Be a pitch, or it would be auto renewal, or it depends on the relationship.
A lot of the time, it depends on the relationship. If it's government, so we have quite a few government contracts too. They tend to be longer, 10 years. But then there's auto renewal clauses, or you go up to pitch again. Good relationship helps a lot, but it's not a guarantee.
Because you always have to be on your toes anyway.
You always have to be on your toes. You always have to be delivering the best and be genuine and authentic. I always say to the team too, we haven't been brought on board to be yes people. We say yes to everything in the sense of the attitude of, come, we can get things done. But if a client is making a wrong judgment call on a strategy or a comms, it's our job to say no. We really advise and to really coach and counsel.
And they would value that. Maybe when their clients might have a number of agencies, if you're the one that's honest, then they trust you more and they come to you more.
But I do think that honesty comes more with time. So it's normally once you're working, because there's trust. There's a lot of trust that goes in there. we are looking after a brand's reputation. And it depends again if you're talking and if you're dealing with an international or huge, so like Voss Water, Reebok that you mentioned. I mean, we have some brilliant brands that we work with.
Yeah.
You are talking to the teams versus if you're talking to someone and it's their business. So they're the one who started from the ground up. So there's trust levels, there's different types of trust levels and how much you can advise and not. So you really have to tailor it to the client each time.
But you did survive through this period. Everything, you know, the new office UK launched.
Yes.
And maybe some of those plans are on hold, but what's your kind of view on sort of the future?
So when everything started kicking off around March, as I mentioned before, that's when we thought, it was actually end of Feb, we started to feel it already. We thought, right, let's put everything on hold because we just have to kind of understand what's going on. And then as we realized that this isn't a 3-week, 4-week thing, or it's not going anywhere, we need to think of what is our game plan and our action plan moving forward. So we decided to go ahead and launch Q UK because it's actually a brilliant time to launch it. I mean, we launched Q in 2010 in the recession then. This is very different. It affects people differently, but it was a great time. I mean, we've launched and we've already got 5 clients, soon to be 6 by the time hopefully I finish this, which is hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was a lot of work in the background and there's a lot of synergy with the clients that we have here and there. So I think looking at the positives, not stopping and not kind of like, it's tempting just to kind of go in a little bit and go, gosh, I think we allowed ourselves about a week of that, of just shock.
Not long enough, yeah.
And then it's our responsibility, it's our baby, and the team, you know, if we want to be leaders, and I'm always wary using that word because we really do see ourselves all the same, but you know, they look to you. So you have a week of okay and oh gosh and the things that, you know, all the terrible thoughts like 10 years of work just gone down drain. What's the exit plan? Is there an exit plan? What do we do? How do we look after everyone? And then you go, no, actually, this is doable. And I think people want candor rather than charisma. During that period, we were very open, very honest with the team.
Great.
We really thought about what we were saying every time before we said it, just so we were clear. It's not a time for confusion. And we did everything personally. So every single person, we did check-ins on Zoom, for myself and Elsa. We have a brilliant HR department. We've got a great team of directors, but we just felt like this is us communicating.
You need to be hands-on.
And like the reaction from the team, they were so gracious. It was overwhelming. But I think that's more testament to the work that had gone on before.
Is it your biggest challenge you faced the last few months?
Yeah, easily. Now I'm like, throw anything at us, we're good to go. I think there's so many elements because I mean I remember saying to Elsa at one stage, or both of us discussing it, because I'm very lucky. Elsa's my best friend as well, so we were best friends before we started this. Going, if you were running,
the relationship has survived the 10
has.
years. It's incredible.
Everyone told us
don't
do it. Everyone said don't do it. But I suppose that's why we're in the position we're in. We are quite strong-minded once we know what it is that we're doing. Best decision we ever did.
Wow.
You know, that we said if we were running these type of numbers in a normal scenario, you just would not keep the business going like this, and you would have to make some serious cuts quickly.
Yeah.
But because this is so unique, and it's not, and also I think living here, and I've tried to explain this to international friends and colleagues, is living in the UAE is different. There wasn't furlough schemes, there wasn't support in place for people, there was unknown, but also living here is attached to a visa. So if you do have to make cuts, you're not just maybe putting someone out of a job, you're potentially taking away their home, which puts a whole other level of responsibility and emotional responsibility. I think it's been very tough from that aspect of just carrying it, knowing that the decisions might have impact or will have impact, and the emotional toll. So you had to do a little bit differently, but we just found regular contact, updating. We just did another comms survey with the team, and they were saying communication direction is still at the forefront of what they need at the moment. But then we also had to look at what was best for the full team.
Yeah.
Business luckily has started to come back. I think since July we've started to notice. Feel like there's a lot of things set up and people are still just a little bit hesitant to cross the line. But summer is here, traditionally a bit of a downtime anyway. So now you're starting to go, well, is it COVID? Is it just the normal summer pattern?
Yeah.
So yeah. But I mean, we've changed things around. We do 4-day weeks now.
Yeah.
We just realised through this, I think, time.
You adapted a few things.
Yeah. Where what's important to the team. I think people did pick up some great new habits during COVID.
Such as?
Well, working out or cooking.
Oh, yeah, true,
you know what I mean? Like the team. So we want to be able to give them time. Self-care and just like what's important. So we're on a 4-day work week for now and just different things to try and make it work. While we build back up. I mean, I think now we're very focused. We know what we're doing. We redid our end of year goals. We're doing our first team meeting again.
Great.
On the 2nd of September. But again, it's to making sure that people are comfortable. It's also listening, because we may be ready to go at it full force, but there might be individuals who don't feel comfortable working in the office yet. We just have to listen and do it case by case. We have clients that come visit us. We do a lot of client meetings still on Zoom or Teams.
For you and Elsa, do you have a support network through the years, or speaking about gender, your female business owners, independents, there aren't that many, or there haven't been. We know from this podcast it's hard to find people in your position to interview. How has that been? Was it ever a thing? Oh, this is much harder for me. Did you ever feel like that, or?
No. To be very honest with you, I think more maybe not having Arabic is more what I've thought at moments. If anything, I think we've managed to use it to our advantage at times.
You also offer Arabic PR to your clients.
Yeah,
of course.
sorry. Yeah, we have a full Arabic team. I meant on a personal note. Speak Arabic. No, I think being two women in business, it gives you a bit more fire.
Point of difference sometimes.
It's point of difference. It works for us and it works against us at times. And I think that's.
How would it work against you?
Well, sometimes there is that old boys club, or they do want, like if we do work across so many sectors and sometimes sports. So we do some things in the sporting arena too. But if there's not a man going in for that pitch or some of those meetings,
stereotypes get in the way.
There is a little bit. I mean, it changes. So I don't want to kind of clump it and say that's what we've faced over the years. Yeah. But I also feel like there's enough business there. Yeah. To satisfy all the different types. I mean, I think in about year 4, year 5, I was talking with another business owner who really said, you need to get a guy up top, like as part of your directors, and that'll really help bring you to the next level. And then we really explored it, we interviewed, we placed someone, but then it didn't work that time round. But what we've kind of learned over the years more so is it really doesn't come down to gender. It's all about the person. Okay. The right mindset. Good. Are they passionate? Do they embody the values of Q? Yeah. Do they fit with the culture? And, play to the strengths where we have it. That said, I'd say we're about 45, 55% male to female in the agency. So that side is well represented. Well represented.
Great.
Yeah,
so you have it. Not that it matters, but but it's interesting. But just going back to that kind of role model, like, did you think that there weren't? Is there someone who you look up to in your industry, or as a female business owner elsewhere, that you kind of go, oh well, they did it, or do you even look at gender at all?
Don't really look at gender. I get asked this question a lot and have heated discussions when I say I don't necessarily have a role model. Okay. People go, well, how is that possible? And I'm like, well, there's people that I go, oh, I like that, or I admire that. And people like Richard Branson are no-brainers. But then again, everything that's gone on recently makes me now put that into question, because we look at a lot of personas versus people. I think someone like Donna Benton here is a great story. Yeah. But I don't know her personally well enough to go into it. But someone I say, okay, look, that's fantastic what she's done. So there are people, there's more individuals that I've met over the
Yeah.
years that I think I can learn a lot from
Yeah.
and are
Yeah,
impressive.
that was of course Entertainer, which would have started around the same time as you were starting, so it's a similar sort of growth trajectory. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I think she started earlier than us, and she was really that going door to door selling
Yeah.
it, the whole
yeah, yeah.
bottom up.
No, it's great. It's great, and it just shows that for young people starting out in the industry, that they don't need to that kind of glass ceiling. They don't need to kind of think that there's barriers against them if you guys could do it.
No, definitely not. I think especially here, there's actually a lot of opportunities as women. There's a lot of female like exclusively female networking
Yeah.
clubs, which I sometimes think is a bit unfair to the men.
It's definitely unfair. No.
There is that that niche of kind of singling out individuals that are, because they're female, and celebrating them a bit more. Muna Algerg is someone that I definitely would admire and think she's done some fantastic things.
Is that with 2452 in Abu Dhabi, or is that here? She here?
Muna Algerg, she's here.
Media.
S Algerg.
Okay.
Group.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but so 2454. There's great people up there. I follow them on Instagram. So I always think of their Instagram handles. It's probably not the best way to name them.
Well, Dubai Party Queen. But I didn't. I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't tell you I'm going to ask you this type of question. But PR industry in Dubai, stories that shocked you over the years. Was there off the top of your head, like when you look at things, were there any times that you've kind of had to do crisis management? Were there any things that you kind of go, uh-oh? And, how do you think that people's perception has changed with kind of shocking stories and stuff like that?
I think, we've definitely done crisis comms. We've done crisis comms we've done crisis comms on press trips where things have happened, and we've done crisis comms for brands here. Naturally, I can't really talk about them because that's what they paid us for, was to keep everything quiet.
Yeah.
But it has changed. It used to be that you were almost protected because there was a level of censorship within the media, whether they'll say that was the case or not, it was, And 7 days was the go-to for anything that was a little bit more sensational, and even that is pushing it for what would really be internationally would not class as such. I think with digital, during COVID, everyone turned to digital anyway because it's the easiest way in social to access content in real time versus waiting for scheduled news reports on the radio or on the TV or whatever it might be. It's all there. So things get out much quicker and it's a bit harder to manage. There are days where I wake up and I think, oh, I'm so happy I'm not their PR agency. But there are also days when I go, I wish I could get my teeth into that, because crisis comms is quite a different skill set, and it's it can be quite exhilarating as long as it's nothing that's obviously putting harm to people. But there's been some shockers. Zero gravity.
Okay, yeah.
The pool, but the memes the next day are absolutely.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Brilliant.
As long as the business doesn't suffer. But I think how they manage that, for example, they came out with a message and things like that. Like, when you talk about censorship, there's sort of, I guess there's guidelines, which is things be respectful to entities, people, and then also, customs. And then there's also, the economy and what we're trying to achieve here all together. But then there's the other part of it, which is what I think is a go-to sort of delete button, which, if something goes live in other markets, it's screenshotted, it's live. Whereas here there seems to be a kind of, they'll take it down. Do you think that still is have you come across that? Or what's your view on it? Or do you think that if something goes up, do you advise people to try and keep it quiet, or do you advise them to put out a press release?
Neither, in a way.
Okay.
I tell them to embrace it. I think this idea of kind of going, if I close my eyes and it's not in this market, it'll go away. Yeah. It's not good. Also, you need to be on the front foot. So with crisis comms, be proactive, not reactive.
Okay.
Don't sit there and be like, is it going to come? What's going to come? It depends on the degree of what it is as well.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something that was overlooked, but have your holding statements, have your messaging, have everything ready. But if it's something that's a bit bigger, and especially during everything with COVID, people need to feel informed, you know, not holding information back. So I think being proactive with crisis comms is really important, but that is where you do need to get someone in to help. And the thing is, with crisis comms, it only works very well. I mean, there'll be obviously instances here and there that you might get away with it if it's stuff that's been done before, because it's what your brand stands for, it's your messaging, it's what you stand for that you bring through in these moments of crisis. So whoever is going to be guiding you, your agency, or if it's an in-house role, needs to really understand the brand and already have those scenarios already mapped out. Within your industry, you can normally tell what potential scenarios you could be facing. And
that obviously kind of spills over into social media, and you have to respond quickly and all this stuff.
Social media, how you respond, it's so important. You can also spin it. So we launched what was a Dubai Institution Society years back. For those who don't know, it's a very frequented nightclub, I think, in the city.
It's not there at the anymore.
Not.
It changed names.
It's changed. Yeah, it closed and a new concept's opened.
Yeah.
But that was originally meant to open in the address here in Dubai Marina.
Yeah.
And we put in the original press release that you could dance on the tables. There was a table that you could dance on, because the table was actually going to be that far off the ground.
Yeah.
And we got full approvals, everything on this. It went out. Arabian Business ran it. This was pre-loving, I think.
In a way where
a bit sensationalized, a bit of outrage, but also a bit fantastic, something a bit meaty to write about. And got in trouble, so much so that the venue got kicked out of that hotel.
Wow.
And so there was an opportunity. Do you kind of go, gosh, and were refired and then, taken off, and they went and opened somewhere else? They did open somewhere else, but we said we can use this to your advantage. We've already created
the name,
ripples
the brand,
and the names of doing things a little bit
doesn't really matter where it is, because someone's been.
So now let's open and let's keep that going. And we did, and it was so successful. And did a lot of firsts in the city.
I remember,
and it went well. It was the first one to bring bingo here and all the different types.
It was pre-loving, actually. I remember going to it pre-loving.
Yeah.
We went to it during loving as well.
So I mean, that's like it's a softer crisis situation, but it's not that soft if it's your business and you've invested and you could potentially be losing like a big lease contract. Then it's important to the individuals involved. So it's just looking at it, but responding well quickly. And I was on the phone with the said editors who were very kind and did things to help me fix it a little bit, but it was out there then. So the powers that be saw.
Yeah. Interesting. Good one to think about. Good advice. Just about how you're working with clients. Like, we talk about the services, but at what point do you kind of help people to be more transparent? I've got some idea. I've got an example in my head, because I watched the 12-minute video this morning of Gymshark in the UK. This startup gym company, clothing gear. Do you know it?
Yeah.
You know it? Okay.
And he's been bought for $1 billion.
Yeah. So it was covered on Lad Bible and stuff like that. And someone told me a few weeks ago, I've just been oblivious to this Gymshark growth brands like Under Armour, whatever. It's just taken off. Like Pretty Little Thing or these type of activewear type companies. But I watched the video. Athleisure. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're just off the back of a Reebok page, so you're well up with the lingo.
Very true. Very true.
But so because the press kind of got my attention, I watched the video, and I was blown away because he was so transparent. There's graphs of the share ownership. There's all the decisions. There's talking about his co-founder that left and started, and I just thought, like, wow, like, you're either transparent all the way, or someone's worked with you on this piece, which is really, really impressive. And that video alone can go so far now, because it's got everything in it, as opposed to as opposed to multiple relationships and different sorts of. What do you think? What do you think of that? Like, does it come from the company? Does it come from the agency?
He's quite young, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is also why it made such headlines. I think it's a bit of a generational thing too. If you think about just how communications comms has evolved from our parents' generation to our generation to our younger siblings. I'm not even going to go as far as the next generation yet. I think it's not as like my team. I see it. Consumers, they share. They almost overshare, as we say. So this transparency, even if it's not always showing the right things, they're very used to that idea of showing and being open, which is kind of very different to what it would have been 2 generations beforehand, where it was, in the office, closed door boardrooms. So I think that's part of where this transparency comes from. It's a generational mindset of how they like to communicate and like to do things. I think you just need to get the right balance of transparency, because you open yourself up for a lot of scrutiny, but that's not always a bad thing. It all comes back to, and I think this period and this year again, is being authentic and being genuine. So I think people understand now if they've got something that's too packaged and too marketed and too on message and going out. I think, was it Ford's or one of the car companies, like, had this big fancy advert ready to roll in March for March Madness in the States, and just decided to let it roll anyway and had to be pulled back out of poor taste. Yeah. So I think it is doing that thing of just being like considered, aware and not too polished. People want a bit of grit. I think people want to see behind, and that's why social is brilliant, because you can be the head of a company and then also show your personal life. I think Bill Walsh, Viceroy Hotels, does a great job of that. Viceroy, Go Brand, he's Irish as well. And if you follow his Instagram, you get a real insight to the brand, but an insight to him. Yeah. And it makes you kind of buy into it all a little bit more.
It's more
getting
transparent.
The right balance.
Yeah. And you used to work with Tourism Ireland as well, and all those. Yeah. So, and you're wearing green today, representing.
I am. I realised that as you said it. I'm like, very on brand.
So why didn't you open Q Dublin? Q Ireland doesn't have the same ring as Q UK?
It will. I mean, look, it's definitely something we'd be looking at. It would have been a natural step as well, being Irish. But again, it comes down to the people. So we've been looking, like I said, we looked at Bahrain. We're still looking into Saudi. But we trust Kate. We understand the market. It's a key feeder market for a lot of our hospitality clients, and the Middle East is a key feeder market for the UK and Europe, which is kind of easier to service from there.
For you and Elsa, obviously, if you wanted to move, not saying that you would move, but Saudi's closer than the UK. Would Arabic be the barrier, or why not QComs in Saudi?
I think it's more when than why not. Yeah. Arabic, no, I wouldn't say Arabic it's a little bit the barrier, but not too much. I think you got to remember though that
it's still
the ability for women to go in and out freely was always kind of hindered. Yeah. That's only
for anyone changed. You needed an invitation letter. It was lots of things, and for women, of course.
Yeah. So I think, and again, it comes back to just really understanding the market, because I wouldn't want to put someone in somewhere or just appoint someone or partner with someone just for the sake of going tick, and now
we have a flag. Yeah,
like because that only goes so far, and then when you can't deliver or the quality is not correct, it's going to come back and bite you.
You need a real business unit in each market, not just Okay.
I mean, we have teams that we work with on the ground across the GCC.
You have some clients in those markets.
We have clients and we have individuals. Yeah. So we work with them on an ongoing basis. Yeah. And I'd more want to build something up with one of them. But it takes time. Yeah. Kate, someone who came, opened up our Abu Dhabi office and really understood what Q's all about. Went back. We always had our eye on the UK. Put 2 years back in the market, building back up the contacts, because she's been over in the Middle East.
Strategic, Katie.
Very strategic. So then when we wanted to launch, we have substance.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have the network. So
So,
It just made sense for us, and it's been a really good decision so far.
great. So to wrap up, because I'm conscious that hour is almost up, we almost touched on it there. The region. So I always ask this question about the Middle East as an emerging market. Do you see it as an emerging market? What do you see the barriers are, or where are we in 5-10 years time?
I think the speed that we're going at, I mean, it's exciting to think about where we are in 5-10 years time. But there's always unrest, unfortunately, you know, which I think maybe scares or intimidates people in other parts of the world. I still think there's a massive misconception about the Middle East, and some of the questions I get asked from international people, I'm always surprised at, but it's a lot of it's to do with media. But I think everything, especially the UAE, what we're doing from the Mars Hope probe to everything, it's putting us on more and more the international stage. Is the whole region emerging? No, I think there's parts of it that have definitely matured beyond that and are real global players, which we know.
Yeah.
Not all parts of the region, but
yeah,
getting there.
But do you think the unrest will always hold here back, or do you think from a business point of view, from an industry point of view, that there is sort of hope for, you know, pan-Arab PR companies, networks, clients?
Oh, completely. I watched a little clip of one of the gentlemen from Hoppy.
Yeah.
And I really liked what he said about Arabic being a unifying language. And
Yeah,
it's true,
it's a good
which is
point,
quite
right,
different.
yeah.
But at the same time, you don't fall into the trap of one size fits all.
Yeah.
So we did a campaign with an agency in Egypt for DHL that we won an award for with Mo Salah.
Oh yeah.
Which
That
was
brilliant.
fantastic.
Yeah.
But you know, the market there is completely different in how you communicate to them. The way that we communicate in KSA is different to how we communicate in Kuwait. So like there's nuances in the culture, in how people consume media, how the Arabic is written. So 100% pan-Arab agencies, but you need to have a foot and an understanding in the market.
Perfect.
Just like from here to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's brilliant.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Katie. And yeah, speak soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.